Hello and welcome back to another video on the channel. Today we're going to be discussing Man of Steel. So, going forward, we're going to be reviewing the Man of Steel Blu-ray because I picked this up not too long ago and it was quite cheap. It was only £1 from a thrift shop or a charity shop if you're from the UK. And I wanted to discuss this movie because I really do enjoy it. One of the things that I had also noticed, though, is one of the first things I want to bring up about this, is why in the fuck is there a special feature for Lord of the Rings on the Blu-ray? It makes no sense. It's randomly thrown in there. And yeah, so thought I'd bring that up straight away. But let's cut it up in a wee bit more better section. So let's go into the proper review. Let's go! Right, so one of the first things I want to talk about is the story overall. The story in this version of Superman is a really good story. And yeah, there's a lot of things that I'm not kind of happy with what they did do. Like, don't get me wrong, I still think Henry Cavill is like the best Superman of all time when it comes to the way he looks and the way he acts. But for me, one of my biggest issues going forward with this movie is that, well, they do a lot of things with Superman that he wouldn't actually do. They did change up his story a bit, and one thing I hate about the older DC movies is that everything has to have a grainy, sort of gritty filter on it. I think it would have added more to it if it had more of a shinier colour, like up here. Because if it done that, the colour might have popped out and the suit might have looked a bit better. Because I'm not going to lie, at times I felt like there was too much, grittiness on the screen. It was like, oh, look at me, I'm edgy, I'm dark, and it's like cool. And I know it's an issue with some of these other, DC movies, and don't get me wrong, it's still a fun movie, it doesn't take away from the story, but when it comes to those sort of things, I just think they could have done it a lot better. So one of the first points I wanted to talk about is Kal-El, Superman, Clark Kent, whatever variation of his name you want to put on it, when it comes to this version of Superman, it's a bit different from your normal take of Superman. In this version, it's doing the future and flashbacks like simultaneously. So the movie starts off with, Cal's mum and dad having to go against General Zod, saving him, the usual thing that all Superman movies starts off with when it comes to his origin stories. But then by the time they send him away, it cuts to an adult Cal having to save people on... I don't actually know the name of the thing. It's like those, water excursion things where, there's scaffoldings and all those sort of things. And it's falling down and, he's running through fire and nothing's affecting him and he's completely fine. And then it keeps intercutting to when he was a child with his parents. One of the things I did like about the story of Superman in this movie was the connection with both versions of his parents. He has two fathers. He has two mothers. He didn't get to meet his first mother, but he has four parents altogether, but two sets of parents. And I thought that was a really cool thing to touch upon and look at. I know this is a Zack Snyder film, so Snyder fans, yes, I can admit this is a good movie, but unfortunately, going forward, there's no more Zack Snyder movies. So, please stop begging for it. As much as I loved Man of Steel, watching it, I don't need more Zack Snyder movies when it comes to DC now. We're going forward. We're moving on. So let's keep it from doing that and move on. So, one of my second points is when obviously it shows you his backstory, when it's showing you how he's struggling to control his powers, and it's showing his difficulty within the schooling systems and how to control all of his powers, especially in school when things are getting too much for him. He's having anxiety, panic attacks because of his things getting too much for him. And it was a good dynamic, and obviously we see him obviously getting bullied, and everybody's like, ha 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 ha. And then, he saves the school bus and everybody's just like, excuse me? Has anybody seen what this kid can do? Are you being serious? And everybody's like, oh, it's a sign of God, or, it's all these sort of things. And I like the way they tackled that. It was a really fun and interesting take of what would it really be like if people actually saw this child doing these things? And obviously, he originally has a kid bully who at first tries to bully him, and then because he saves their life, they become friends. And so even when other people are trying to bully him as he grows up, that friend who originally bullied him is now helping him up and making sure he's okay and making sure that no matter what happens that he's all right. And obviously his parents are also in the fold where they're trying to protect him because they know the world isn't ready to see a person that can do what he can do, because it would be too shocking to the mind, to the point where when humans get shocked to the brain that much that they become irrational, and then they try to kill people, they try to hunt down people, they say it's evil, they say it's an act of the devil, or they will do these sort of things and manhunt and witch hunt these people, which ironically goes against their point because they're acting more like the devil and the way they see it would be. And I always found that concept very intriguing and very fun and interesting to actually watch. But also going forward, we've got Lois Lane, and Lois Lane in this movie is a modern take. It's not too much like annoying a modern take. Like a lot of new modern take when it comes to females, it's like she has to be doing everything on her own. Where this one, she still has that sort of damsel in distress, but they're more of a partner dynamic. But she still has to be saved, which I think is a good, more modern take on the character, because she's not outright being a better person than Superman. Because let's be honest, Superman is the main focal point of a Superman movie. So if you overshadow him with another character, be it a female, be it of any other character, then it's kind of defeating the purpose of a Superman story. And that's one of the things I liked about that. Yeah, there's some things I don't like when it comes to the changing for modern audiences, but this one wasn't too bad. Like, the only sort of thing that was also different about the Lois Lane character is, instead of not knowing who he was for a very long time, in this movie they just execute it. They're like, she knows, she's the one that figures it out because of following him through the mountains to his ship, a ship that he came to Earth on many, many moons ago. Well, I see, that's one thing I didn't understand about the plot, is like, that ship's supposedly been there for like 20,000 years, and and obviously Clark Kent isn't that old, so I don't know who put that ship there 20,000 years ago, because unless they're trying to say he can age for a long time, I don't know. And because I'm not an avid reader of the Superman comics, I'm not going to pretend that I know this. So I just realised that there whilst recollecting my thoughts on the movie. Another thing that I liked was General Zod's story. The one thing I'm starting to get annoyed at, and I've always been annoyed at, is that as much as I love the fact that they try to make the villains more grounded and more realistic, can we stop making them have a relatable backstory? Can we stop making them seem justified in what they're doing? Because they're really not. I miss the days of old school villains where villains could just be villains. And I know this is an older movie and it's been out for a long time, but I'm just going to go over it and review it since I never got the chance to give my opinion on it a long time ago. And also when it comes to, reviewing the Blu-ray, I might as well review the Blu-ray. So I really did enjoy it though, but I just don't like the fact that Zod got a bit more humanized. I like it when Zod's just a douche canoe, and don't get me wrong, there is scenes in this where you just want to, like, if you were Superman, you would just go ham on his ass because of what he's been doing, what he's saying he's going to do. One of my issues though comes at the end of this movie, and the issue when it comes to the end of this movie is that they have Superman kill Zod. And don't get me wrong, I understand, but Superman does kill at certain times. Yes, don't get me wrong, but for little, as if he doesn't have to kill, he won't do it. So I kind of felt like they forced him to kill Zod in this first movie, and we're never going to get a second one. So I understand why they sort of did it, but the thing that annoyed me the most about it is that it was out of character for Superman. But other than that, the overall story was still good. It was still intriguing, and it was still interesting enough. And when it comes to the Blu-ray specifically itself, special features are cool. You've got behind the scenes with Henry Cavill and, all the other actors, and they're talking about the history of Superman and the deepest lore and how it all ties in and how they've reimagined the story and what they're done in the movie. And like I said at the beginning of this, though, for some strange reason, at the very end of that, behind a Superman animated special is the location scouting for Percy Jackson's Lord of the Rings. And I know that exists on the actual Lord of the Rings stuff because I've got that. Why on earth is it on a Superman DVD? Well, Blu-ray. It makes no sense. It's quite funny, and like, I never actually watched it because I didn't want to watch it at the time I was watching the movie. So maybe there is a reasoning for it, but it's still really funny in my opinion. And for I got this for the equivalent of like £1, which would be like maybe like $1 something in America. I can't complain. It's a really good Blu-ray. It's got some interesting bonus features. One that I really don't know why it's there, but it's very interesting. And overall, I think it was a solid movie. I wouldn't give it like a 8 out of 10. I'd say probably a 7.5 out of 10 when it comes to that movie. Because there's a good story there, the greatest looking Superman, and the best version of Superman that we could probably get without it going too bizarre. So that's why it also gets such a higher rating. But anyway, I have been Kane and Wolf, and I shall see you guys in the next video.